Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this Tuesday, May 13th, City Commission work session to order and ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mayor Pam Triola.
Here.
Vice Mayor Scott Maxwell.
Here.
Commissioner Christopher McBoy is absent. Commissioner Andy Amoroso.
Here.
Commissioner Joe Curry.
Present.
If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Vice Mayor Scott Maxwell.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all.
You know, we help us 10 cards.
I know that this is a work session, and I know that we're going to have individual district meetings, I'm sure, over the course of whatever, but I would like to allow public comment this evening. So if anyone would like to make a comment, please get a blue card. They're in the back, and fill it out, and come on up and chat. All right, City Manager, you want to start this off, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. In the continuing efforts to... She said it, Peter. I'm too tall.
Hello, hello.
There you go.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening.
There you go.
Yeah. In the continuing effort to bring forward the Lakewood 2020 program, we were asked at the last session, after many months and discussions about the needs of the city, which probably go back longer than a year. We've been having an ongoing dialogue about the needs of the city, specifically the infrastructure problems that we're facing. Paring it down to a program to where, at this point, staff was instructed to come back with 4 district meetings that would take place this month before you would consider the ballot language, which would be on your agenda in the first meeting in June. It would have to happen at that point before a ballot question could actually appear on the August date, which is, Clerk, August the
26.
August the 26th is the primary vote.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. So, in the compressed time frame, staff has worked very diligently to try to come up with a presentation, which I'm going to just really walk you through, and understand when we were sort of switching gears from all the really intricate, detailed discussion where you got down literally in the pothole. Somebody laughed at that. Okay. To giving people more of a 10 or 15,000 foot level presentation with the ability then to ask more specific questions about their own properties or where they live or where they're concerned about things in the city. Because obviously in a city with as many residents and properties as we have, everything's going to be different from property to property. So we tried to come up with a presentation process that did that. Now, I'm hoping a lot of you had a chance before you came into this room, in the conference room next door, was a static display that we're going to be using with the district presentations. And it will show a large satellite aerial of the district. And in the case we're set up for the first meeting, which will be tomorrow with Commissioner McBoy's district too. And it shows literally the roofs of all the houses and all the properties with all the streets. And there are color-coded lines drawn where the projects are going to be occurring, so that literally a property owner, a resident, could go up to that map and say, ah, there's my house, and see where they're concerned about different infrastructure issues, whether or not it's being addressed in the plan, and they can, help them make their decision whether or not they support it or have questions. So with that, why don't we do this? We'll walk through the presentation, and this is something also, input from y'all, because the commissioners, the 4 commissioners, are going to be doing their district presentations themselves. Staff will be there, obviously, in a supportive role, but we're expecting that y'all to take that lead presentation role in each one of these district meetings. So without any further discussion on that, let's go into the presentation. What is Lakewood 2020? It's really a quality of life program, and it addresses some issues that we've had in the city for a while: potholes, paving, fire hydrants, sidewalks, traffic safety, drainage, water pressure issues, and jobs. If you were to sum this up, that's what Lake Worth 2020 is really all about. What's in it for you as the resident? Well, one of the biggest issues we've had to grapple with here is the condition of the roadways. And potholes in this city are legendary. I've had so many complaints from people who have actually had to spend several $100s because they've damaged their cars. And I think that wheel there, I'd say probably ran over one of the potholes in Lake Worth. But just besides the fact of the road infrastructure being bad, there is a cost to residents when you don't have good infrastructure. And it really has a lot of wear and tear on your vehicles, besides being unattractive and potentially dangerous. Traffic safety, which is one of the things that we've included in the roadway program. And we're looking to slow down cars. We also have some neighborhood enhancements that includes consideration of street lighting in areas that would need it, and intersections. Those parts of the program will be yet to be determined, but there's money allocated in the Lake Worth 2020 program to try to address those issues. Paving. And here's an example where you can see, obviously, it looks like a quilt. Repeated potholes and patches. And just to be very clear, potholes are not a fix. You put a pothole in, it is not going to last. We have done potholes on top of pothole patches. And we will continue to do that. Our effort here is to try to get ahead of that and actually fix the road. And fire hydrants. What's interesting on this street is we're actually missing, this is one of the sections of the city where we're missing fire hydrants. So you can take a stretch of road like this, which really doesn't have much curb appeal, and turn it into something that's a little more attractive and actually install the missing fire hydrants, which should be spaced at every 300 feet. Sidewalks. The young school child on the left there is running down a dirt road right now because in some of these areas we don't even have the roads, much less the sidewalks. A lot of our sidewalks can look just like this area here. It's abysmal, and it's not safe, and it really doesn't say a lot about our city when you allow those conditions to exist. Drainage. It's legendary in some parts of our city. Part of the drainage program that we have incorporated in these road projects is to try to alleviate some of the problems that we have, especially during events. Our goal would be to try to ameliorate flooding altogether, which honestly in some areas is going to be impossible, but we could reduce the duration and the severity of an event. If you live in an area currently where we would be installing new water lines to boost pressure, happy showers. I don't know why. I feel very zen when I look at that. That's very happy shower. Full water pressures. Actually, I didn't pick that one, but that's an interesting slide. Remember, you guys are going to be using this, so I need to give us some feedback. Let's talk about the Park of Commerce. Park of Commerce has been talked about since 2001. I have plans that are on my desk that they say the weight of the paper equals, when the airplane equals the weight of the paper to fly. We've been designing and going over applications and concepts. We're down to the point where we really need to finish this project, because what's related to that is I get the calls from the Business Development Board, and staff gets the calls, and they said, we need 10 acres for code name Project Maxwell, whatever it is. We don't have a place to put these jobs. We have the location, we have the place that needs the tax space and the jobs, but we don't have the land. And we can't get this land ready until the infrastructure is sufficient. And the infrastructure isn't sufficient because the city never buckled up and made the initial investment, acquired the right of way. And this is an important piece of Lake Worth 2020. This is a good investment in our portfolio of land uses for job base and for tax base. The properties in the industrial area, for every dollar they would pay into taxes, require about 40 cents back in services. It's a net subsidizer of services in the city. Lake Worth 2020, taking all that into consideration, and the way we've been able to push the master plans, because remember we had a water master plan, we had a sewer master plan, we had a stormwater master plan, And we filled in the last component with actually assessing the roads through a study and push them all together. Let's do it once and do it right. Don't come in piecemeal. Don't do this project on this road and then come back and do this project on this road and constantly tear it up. You know, it's been very holistic and a very comprehensive approach in this plan, and that's included. Now, we have in the next slides each of the districts, and you can see all four there, and it's really hard to make out. That's why we really were intent on providing a static display that goes along with this so that you can literally go up and see the roof of your house or your property and find out what projects are happening in front of it or around it, or on the areas that you're concerned about that you use. So that's part of the program, and that's all four districts. We've used this analogy before, and this is really important. We either fail as a city, as a whole city, or we succeed as a whole city. And every property across the gamut of the 13,000 plus properties has a different set of circumstances. And you may live in a property or a house where in your room at the house there isn't a problem. But in other rooms of the house or in other parts of the city, it's leaking. You got mold, and there's all kinds of issues. And you wouldn't want to be in those rooms. But make no mistake about it. If you've got those kinds of areas in your house, it affects the value, the entire value of the house. Properties in this city that are functional, that would be considered the non-leaking portion of the house, if they were in another city, would probably be worth 2 to 3 times as much. It does affect all of us. So the roof analogy is something we really believe is a real good analogy for what we're trying to do in this city. And the guy there, that's an unhappy shower. The question that we need to really talk about, obviously, is where projects are and what will it cost to each resident. And again, it's going to be different from resident to resident. We come up with the 3 examples, and then we lead into the actual dollar amounts. But to kind of give people a perspective, if you have a home with an assessed value of $75,000, and you take your exemption, it's about a cup of coffee each month that you would be trading in order to do this program. If you have a home that's valued or assessed value at $100,000 for the homestead, it's a burner lunch, approximately, each month. If you're lucky enough to live in a home with an assessed value of $200,000 with the exemptions, it's 1 dinner out a month is the trade-off. The total bond issue that we're asking through this ballot issue would be to borrow $63.2 million. It's broken down a little further, and what we're going to have is, after the presentations, staff will have a more detailed chart of the various assessed values so that residents and property owners can go up to them and actually hone in more closely with what we're talking about on a monthly cost. And that's just really a recap of what we did in the comparisons with the cup of coffee and the burger. In summary, Lakewood 2020, it's an infrastructure investment plan. It's designed to increase property valuation base across the city. It's definitely designed to improve quality of life in Lake Worth. It addresses life safety issues, and in many ways, having just celebrated our 100th year, it's a reboot of this city. It requires approval by the voters. It's a general obligation bond, and it needs their approval. Along with that, and this got handed out, is a summary page. And again, I apologize for the condition of this. Our printers have been down all day. We've been scrambling like crazy with a lot of other issues that have been going on, so bear with me for any typos. But if you look at the sheet that we have, it gives you some interesting statistics about the city in Lakewood 2020. Of course, potholes are a big issue that we need to stop having a temporary fix. There's about 116 miles of paved roads in Lake Worth. 27 miles are gravel or dirt. 30% of the existing roads in Lake Worth are going to be resurfaced under this program. That's a significant amount. Of the fire hydrants, We have almost 1,000. We'll be adding 170 new fire hydrants, which is almost an increase of 18%. And that obviously relates back to improving the water flow in some parts of the city with new lines and improved volume and pressure. Fire hydrant coverage will increase an additional 2,000 properties with these 170. And fire pressure will be improved to 1,500 properties. Sidewalks, where sidewalks currently exist within the Lake Worth 2020 scope, they're going to be repaired, replaced, or new installations. We won't see the kind of conditions that we have with the cracked and failing sidewalks. Where they do not exist, we're going to be analyzing on a case-by-case basis. It's very difficult to have a blanket statement on the roadway system, as we had a discussion about that early on in this, about saying we're going to put sidewalks everywhere, because rights-of-way issues, driveway cuts, the feasibility of actually doing it engineering-wise isn't a blanket statement of the city, but we'll analyze that. Traffic safety, we've put $3.2 million in neighborhood enhancements, which include the issue of traffic safety. So approximately $800,000 per district could be used for those various kinds of issues within those districts. And traffic safety is something we've heard much about, people speeding through the neighborhoods. Developing a traffic policy where we designate neighborhood streets and arterials and collectors, and we install and do things that actually slow people down or divert traffic to those arterials and collectors. And drainage is an issue. We have to really, with a lot of these projects, that's a key component. And of course, jobs. And Department of Commerce is our biggest return on that investment. If you turn this over, it breaks it down where the money that we receive would be going. And I want to make clear, while we're asking to borrow $3.2 million, the total project cost is almost $83 million, because within the utility funds, we currently have some reserves that we had already been planning to invest in the city.
Capital improvement project.
Capital improvement projects, but it didn't involve fixing the road or doing anything else. So you might have seen some projects, or we'll see some projects where we just do a water line and kind of looks, it's not a finished product when it's over with. So you can see here we have over $35.5 million designated for roadway and sidewalk improvements. Almost $12 million for stormwater. The Park of Commerce phases 1 and 2. It's $9.6 million. Project management, and we had this discussion. We were recommending that we actually hire professionals to help us manage these projects. It's too large for the staff, and we're very comfortable with the results we're getting as we're working with project managers. And it's something where we believe, with the staff we have, their expertise and input, along with a professional project management staff, will be the best way to make sure everything gets spent and done on time and accounted for. Neighborhood enhancements, that's the $3.2 million that we're talking about. And there's actually a cost of issuance with any bond issue. That's how we get to the $63.2 million. Grants and existing money, you can see there how it's broken down by water fund, sewer, electric, and an EDA grant. We've been incredibly conservative by saying we're going to get one grant on this whole program. It's our intent, and it's been your direction, as these projects are designed, as we get them to be shovel-ready, we actually got something to go with. That we have a legislative program through the Florida legislature, and as money's becoming more available in that venue, that we are very active in Tallahassee this coming year. Same thing in the federal side. We're hearing this and that about different programs. Any possibility for us to go and get grants and to help supplant any of the money that you're seeing here, we will actively go after. But right now, we just have one NDA grant put in here, and we think that's incredibly conservative. I guess the only other thing I really want to address is, when we set up the funding numbers, when we looked at what it would cost by valuation, we were very conservative again, we believe, in estimating it was a 4% a year increase in property values. Now, until it actually happens later on this month, the property appraiser has actually given us a fourth place in the county at 8.3.
8.19.
8.2% increase in property valuation. Now we're sticking with our 4% just so that the numbers project out. But we believe that better days are ahead for Lakewood, that we're on the positive side of seeing valuation return. So these numbers are a very conservative projection. It's very possible that they could go 8% or above, and maybe even to double digits in some years, which would rob the base and reduce the amount per property. As rising tide brings all ships up. And that's a very important thing for people to understand. We were very conservative in judging these numbers. So, with that, I just wanted to add one more thing. The Finance Advisory Board that you've created and appointed, they had a meeting last night, and they basically says here, the Finance Advisory Board agrees the transactions are reasonable and recommends the Commission move forward with the 2020 plan. They reviewed, along with Finance Director and staff, the financing of it, and so they're endorsing it as your advisory board. The 4 meetings in the community. The first one is tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at the Scottish Rite Masonic Center on North D Street in North End of the city. Christopher McBoyd will be heading up that presentation, and all the staff will be there to assist. The District 4 meeting, that's May 19th at 7 at the Glass House. Everybody knows what the Glass House is. That's 1st Avenue South in Gulfview, across from Bryant Park. The District 3 meeting, May 21st, 6 p.m. at the First Congregational Church on K Street. May 22nd will be the final district meeting, District 1, at 6 p.m. at the Lake Osborne Community Center on Wheatfield Street. So we will be advertising, putting signs out, trying to get the word out. I know some of the neighborhood groups have been trying to generate some interest. Again, at this point, you had requested we pull this information, this presentation together, and these meetings before you go into the next step of actually considering the ballot language. And so with that, we're available for questions or input or any tweaks to these presentations. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Commissioner comments? Should we go to public comment? Vice Mayor?
Yes, Mayor. Why don't we go straight to public comment and kind of hear what everybody has to say, their thoughts, their input, or whatever, and then we'll bring it back here. And we might be able to answer, depending on the style and the nature of the questions, we may be able to answer some of the specific questions directly.
Okay, public comments. If anyone has cards, please bring them on up. Just one per person. And anyone who's here for the first time, know that there's a 2-minute time limit, and the buzzer will go off, please, and I will say thank you very much. But we want to try to get everybody in, so don't think I'm being rude. It's just that's the time limit that we have. And remember, if you want to spend more time and ask more questions, we're going to have these individual town hall style meetings so that you can get up close and personal with us and with staff and get a longer answer.